Hi everyone, it's Eve Atley-Blowitz from SpiritGirl.com and welcome to the Spirit Girl podcast show. I'm super excited to be here with you today in this online audio and video space and with our very special guest who is Liza Kindred, who is the author of F This Meditation. She's also a spiritual self-love teacher. And I'm super grateful to have you here today, Liza. Thank you for joining us on the Spirit Girl podcast show.
Thank you so much for having me. It feels so great to be able to connect with you and with all of your listeners from the other side of the world. For people that are seeing us on video, it's clearly nighttime. The sun just set and I wasn't quite prepared with lighting, so it's a little dark, but I'm all here.
Well, congratulations on your book, F This Meditation. Can I say this is out on the Aussie bookstores at our major retailers. I grabbed a copy there actually before Christmas and I thought, oh my goodness, this is incredible. I love the title, by the way.
I can't believe I got away with that.
Yeah, I loved it. And I loved how you've got 108 tips, tricks, and ideas for when you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and stressed out, which is totally on point with the global pandemic. Now, before we get into your book, are you happy to tell all of our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm a little bit of a reformed technologist. So my background was first in technology and then in fashion. I worked in open source technology and I worked in wearable technology, and I did a lot of work focusing on disruption and innovation and trying to change the world in that way, and which was fun. And 20 years ago when I started, and 10 years ago even, it did seem like it was possible to maybe use technology to facilitate a lot of good, and maybe it is still possible, but things have not gone the way that we hoped. And I had started 10 or maybe 12 years ago, I had started a meditation practice of my own. And I really found a lot of benefit from that. And so I followed a Buddhist path, and I started going to an increasing number of meditation retreats and taking classes and working with different teachers. And it got to the point where I kind of realized that the work that I was doing was totally incompatible with how I wanted to live my life and what my values were and are. Like, I was going into work and I was like, disruption and interruptions, and like a lot of wearable technology is intentionally built to interrupt people, like to get people to do what we want. I mean, that's what a lot of technology is. And I was realizing, okay, this is like total bullshit, because I don't think that this is the direction I want to go in. It's not the world I want to live in. And so I kind of did a big about face and decided to focus my career on that instead. And so I've had the opportunity to do a variety of different training, meditation teacher training and energy work, and all variety of different things that I use to help people along the what I call self-love journey, which is much more fulfilling work and seems to be a lot more helpful these days, especially.
Wow. So you took the Buddhist path, and did you find, because you described there, technology is full on hectic, disruptive. Mm-hmm. You then decided, so did you feel within your career and job, you're just like so busy in your mind, overthinking in this corporate environment, but then you found a calm and a peaceful state of being when you meditated?
Yeah, exactly. And I would be able to find, meditation for everyone that's tried it, we know that the kind of the way that it's sold, like the idea that it brings like bliss and peace. We see these pictures of people meditating on the beach. I've got some, what happens when we close our eyes and go inside, especially at the beginning, is very far from peaceful. We figure out when we're quiet, when we quiet the world around us, we figure out just how loud our minds are. And, and it's like, oh, there's enough interruption going on in here. There's enough that's happening. But if we sit with it longer, if we sit with the practice and we follow this path and follow the journeys, whatever our journey is, we generally come to a place where we have, more of that, more groundedness, more calm, and we're less swayed or excited, by different things. We still find joy and pleasure, but it's, less and less with having to get that like dopamine hit of always the new thing, which is what social media is built on, things like that.
So what does your daily meditation practice look like now, especially because you're in a lockdown at the moment, we're in a global pandemic.
We are, so almost a year.
Yeah, wow. And yes, what's your meditation look like?
Really flexible. So one of the things that when I first started meditating, it really served me to be doing like exactly the same amount of time every day, the same place, get up in the morning, do 20 minutes, do a breath-based shamatha mindfulness meditation practice. And that's wonderful. And I take a lot of refuge in that. I return to that a lot. And that is always where I start teaching. But over the years, as my own journey has gone on and I've learned and tried new things, I've learned different meditation practices that also work for me. And so I kind of do what I feel like. I do things that are based on, that have like a foundation or a lineage. I want things that, I don't want stuff that someone made up, right? I want things that are like really solid and proven. But in my journey, I found, for instance, that the Buddhist lineage that I started in did not focus on the body. Like it was all like very much in the mind. And so I brought in different practices that are more somatic awareness and more body-based practices. I have a variety of different things, chanting. I've been doing a lot of meditations outside. I have a balcony, which has been a real blessing through all this. And so I sit outside, and sometimes I do it in the morning and sometimes I do it at sunset. I've been doing a lot of outdoor meditations at sunset lately, which is really great. But I've tried to let the world is so chaotic and crazy. It can be good to find discipline and stick with one thing, but it can also be good to be flexible. So that's really where I'm at.
Wow. So tips are be flexible, tune into how you're feeling, what you need.
Give yourself what you need always. And sometimes maybe you don't need a meditation that day. Generally it's good to keep a daily practice of some kind, even if it's just a minute. But really listening to ourselves.
Yeah, a lot of people reach out to me and they say that they don't feel that they are patient, or they're actually scared and frightened to just sit with their mind.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to feel the emotions that are going to come up, or they're scared to, their mind is so, tormenting them in such a way. But I always inspire them to meditate, because if you're always trying to escape by looking at, say, social media to take your mind off how you're feeling, you can never get to the heart of how you're feeling or to process the emotions.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your thoughts on that? Like, I always say, don't be afraid to spend time with yourself. You need to be brave and to know that it's safe to sit with yourself and your breath, and you can let eventually you'll be the observer of your thoughts. But for someone out there that's like trying to distract themselves every spare minute, and they don't want to feel the pain, or they think by looking at social media it's going to help them feel less anxious, any tips for that person out there?
Yeah. Well, for anyone that's feeling that kind of fear, that's scared to sit with themselves, that is totally understandable. That is a really common thing. And in fact, this is what, there's scientists in labs that are trying to make technology more addictive. They are intentionally using things like streaks or badges or, all kinds of things to make it so we want to keep coming back. And what they're counting on what they're making money on is our attention. And they need us to keep giving attention in order for them to keep making money. If we take our attention back, even just a little bit, and I'm not anti-technology, I'm not anti-social media, I use these things myself, but if we can use them with intent and we can take our attention back, we go a long way towards not feeling like we want to do those things anymore because they come less appealing. And I love that you're talking about that need to sit with ourselves. And I think you called people brave or said they had courage. I think that's so true, because to me, when we are able to learn to sit with the discomfort, that is where the progress can really start to happen. When we're able to sit with ourselves and be like, I do not like this, that is totally fine, right? That is a part of meditation. And then we can think to ourselves, depending on the meditation practice, and this is why I like so many different types of practices, we can either do a mindfulness awareness shamatha practice, and we can just notice our thoughts and bring our attention back to our breath. That's one thing that we can do. We can start to notice what are the types of thoughts that I'm having, and then we can take a look at what our particular cognitive schemas are and the things that are actually the stories we're telling ourselves, and we can start to understand what are these stories. We can start to notice, where do you hold discomfort in your body? It's like, where are you feeling resistance to this? And so there's a lot of things that fear is a doorway that we can use to have a really important and hopefully informative inquiry into ourselves. Just saying like, I'm afraid. You're starting. Great. Okay, cool. You noticed how you're feeling. Like, that's amazing. That's a doorway in.
Yeah, I love that. You noticed how you're feeling because you become self-aware.
Yes.
You're tuning into yourself and connecting to your true self, feeling in, knowing, becoming your own best friend and connected to your heart and soul. And I just love, people say to me, how can I become more spiritual? And I'm like, well, connect to yourself and your breath and ground down. And that truly becoming self-aware is such an incredible pathway to that. Now tell me, another thing that people reach out to me and they always tell me, I don't have time to meditate, I'm so busy. But you just made a really good point earlier on in this podcast show that if you can be flexible,
yes,
you can do it. But do you have one little practice for that busy mum out there, or busy father, or someone tuning in who's super busy, that we could just take them through, just even an inhale and an exhale, just so that they can participate in a little meditation with you?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for thinking of that. The book, F.This Meditation, is fully half of the practices in that book take 5 minutes or less. So they are intended to be very quick. And as someone who has a foundation in traditional Buddhism, I typically, for myself, do longer practices. And I think there's a lot of value in having those longer practices. But there's a lot of value in the short ones too. Like, it doesn't have to be long and drawn out. It can, to your point, be as simple as one breath. The first practice in the book, I think, is also the most powerful one. And it is one breath. And it is that when we make our exhale longer than our inhale, we're actually activating our parasympathetic nervous system and sending the message from our body into our brain that we're okay and we can relax, that it's okay to calm down. So let's do that right now. Let's just take a minute, sit upright, listeners, if you can, and viewers, not like super pulling ourselves up, but just sitting up so that we have, imagine maybe there's a string from our head holding our head up, and our spine is a little bit of a straight line with some sway in it. And before we do the breath, let's just notice where our breath is right now. So you might notice when it's entering or leaving your body, it might be going through your mouth or through your nose. Either one, maybe both. And you might notice your chest rising and falling, or your belly rising and falling, or your back. None of this is right or wrong. We're just seeing where our breath is. And let's do a diaphragmatic breath. So let's take one hand and rest it gently above our belly button. And see if we can direct our breath to that place so that our hand on our belly rises when we inhale and falls when we exhale. And let's take one intentional breath where we take a long, deep breath into our hand. And then as we exhale, see how much longer you can make it. Make it long, long, long. And that's it. It doesn't even have to be that long.
That was so beautiful. I was just doing that, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers tuning in, where I was like, wow, I need to do this more. When you just stop,
always, yeah,
pause, just notice your breath, even notice your body and the connection.
Like that we're in a body, we have a physical body.
Yeah, and it's just such a switch off and a connection. Yeah, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for taking us through that, because, I was thinking, when is the last time we just take a moment to even feel our breath, even notice that we're breathing?
Right. It just happens in the background for most of us.
It's just happening, and we maybe sometimes even take it for granted. Yeah. And it's just, it was, what a beautiful practice. And I was about to say, I love how in this meditation, you have those 1 minute practices, because it's just so beautiful. That is your first one, in breath, out breath. And I absolutely love that.
It's so powerful. And I want people to know that there's so many things that we can do when we really only have a minute, because we really are busy. And sometimes it can be an excuse, and we kind of know for ourselves, oh, I'm making excuses. We know, but sometimes we have so many competing priorities. There's so much going on that sometimes you can't make, 20 minutes or 10 minutes, but almost always we can find a time to have 1 minute and do something mindfully. It is great to take a pause like we did. It feels so releasing. We can even have those experiences, though, while we're doing other things. So we can, even things we don't like. And studies show over and over again that if we are mindful while we're doing something, we hate it less, even if it's something we don't like. So if we're doing the dishes, maybe, and I do not like doing dishes, but it can be turned into a practice itself, where we maybe notice, okay, I'm doing the dishes, check in with how we're feeling as we're doing it. Notice, what are the colors I'm seeing? What are the shapes? What are the sounds? And maybe notice, oh, it's a little bit like a song as I'm moving the dishes around, and having a little fun and playfulness in the temperature of the water. And we could just tune in, even if we're feeling like we don't have time to do something else. That's not meditation. Meditation, is a very specific practice, but we can make things meditative and become more mindful in our lives and get a lot of benefit out of doing that.
Yeah, I love those tips, because that just brings you back to out of that monkey mind thought, that stress, thought, caught up in thought. And it sort of just grounds you and makes you connected and self-aware and, conscious of what's in front of you. And really, I love that. I love those ideas. That's so incredible. And I was just, your in-breath and out-breath too, if you're feeling anxious at the supermarket because someone just creeped up real close to you, and it's supposed to be 2 meters, 1.5 meters, stand back, buddy. Seriously, are you not reading the signs? Or, that's a really nice way to breathe in and out and just relax.
Yeah, and I've even developed specific practice. I have a supermarket practice when I'm standing online, actually online anywhere. I hate standing online, where I will do a practice where I'm noticing my feet. So I'm noticing the feeling of my feet in my shoes and on the floor, and I'm noticing the floor rising up to meet my feet, and I'm noticing, my weight. And if I'm standing online and I'm not on my phone, which I do too, I am probably doing that practice of grounding myself through my feet. It's just become almost the thing like, okay, I'm online at the supermarket. It's time to do my grounding practice.
I love that because it takes your focus then off, say, the fear and the anxiety of like, whoa, shit, like if I touch that, I could get this. And then you can your mind can really take you down, as they say, that rabbit hole of, fear, risk, so many people are feeling so anxious because of the global pandemic and the COVID-19.
And by the way, because it is a respiratory illness and it is something that is contagious through the air, sometimes those breath-based practices are not the best for those moments these days. I have a lot of mindful breathing exercises and practices that I've kind of stopped doing in public or even in my apartment building because the awareness of the air is something that doesn't feel super comfortable for me right now. So I think having the options to do other practices could be really good too, because we are in the middle of a global pandemic.
I love that. That's such a valid point, the grounding down whilst waiting. And you're so right. We're very fortunate where I live in Australia. We're not in a lockdown and we don't have it rampaging through our community. And sadly, people dying, where the numbers in America have just been insane. It's just been so sad and so heartbreaking to see. And we're at such different stages around the world with the pandemic. But what are some of the self-care rituals you've been doing just to stay really healthy, happy, and just to reduce anxiety and fear and all of that in your own personal life?
Yeah, I'm so glad we're talking about this. One of the things that has been helpful is to turn some of we've been, like I said, almost a year here that we've been under lockdown and quarantine and, this and that. And some people have decided that they're over it and, here in America and are just going about their day-to-day lives and posting photos everywhere and are continuing to keep everyone who's staying at home sick, which is a really terrible divide that's happening. And a lot of people are experiencing it on a really personal level because people, myself included, that I know and love are behaving very irresponsibly. And you can't unsee that stuff. When you see someone who you normally thought of as in the wellness community or someone who cares about people and they're out there being really irresponsible, while other people are making sacrifices, sometimes the ultimate sacrifice. I shouldn't even say that. People aren't choosing. People who are dying here are not making those choices. But it is so complicated and so complex. And so one of the things that I've found has been helpful is that in this new landscape, new world, whatever we want to call it, there's some new rituals that have come in. So it is so surreal to me to hear that you are not in mask wearing right now, because unfortunately, we're in double mask wearing. So we're at a point where we've been told to wear a medical mask and then a cloth mask over it. We were just doing cloth masks for a while, but because of the variants and the vaccine the rollout has been really, really slow, and things are getting out of control here. Not that they've ever been in control, but things are getting worse again. And so we're on double mask wearing here. And that is at once still feels bizarre because it's relatively new still. And also it's just a part of everyday life now. So it's been helpful to me to turn some of those things into rituals. So for instance, with the mask, I love taking some essential oil and putting a couple of drops of it inside the mask. And turning it into just this moment of meditation. So I put it on before I'm heading out, put them on now, but really inhale the scent. I'm loving eucalyptus or sweet orange oil or something really refreshing and invigorating, and putting it on and just taking a minute and saying to myself, I'm wearing a mask. may this mask protect me, and may this mask protect the people around me. And really turning it into a moment there I'm reflecting on why I'm doing it. And then when I go out in the world, it's always really cool because like it smells real good in here. So I get to keep smelling it. And it reminds me of the intention I set when I put the mask on.
Wow, I love that you set that intention.
I don't like wearing a mask. Like no one does.
No, because it's just like I've only had to wear them in the aged care home when their numbers break out, say in Brisbane and stuff. But people in Melbourne and right around the world at different stages are having to wear them. But we're just so not used to like wearing a mask, and it just feels like, suffocating for some people and weird and uncomfortable. But I think when you have sadly the spread that's going on and the numbers, and you're in winter as well.
Right. Yeah.
So obviously flu season is normally there, but this is much more than a flu, unfortunately. So, but I love how you're putting the essential oils in there. So it smells, calming and invigorating. But that is such a beautiful practice that any one of our listeners who maybe hate wearing a mask, but like setting the intention and going beyond your own self and the purpose of, yes, I'm going to protect myself, my family, my friends, but other people's loved ones and community, which is so incredible because we're going through a stage where we're seeing a lot of backlash coming out towards influencers who are like having these lavish parties and, breaking the rules of too many people getting together. And there's a lot of, I'm getting a lot of feedback about people just, traveling the world like, hey, everybody, everything's all good, positive attitude, positive mindset,
that drives me crazy. That
and like, whoa, I'm thinking of you, over here in this beautiful country, but
that I'm probably bringing, a deadly disease to, but I'm on vacation, so.
And I see that, the French Polynesian islands are now closed to tourists because of the COVID. So I love to travel. Don't get me wrong. I have a spa travel blog, Spa It Girl Travel, and I'd love to be in the Maldives, but I'm really conscious that because I live in Australia, no one can travel international. So I'm really like self-aware that when I first went into lockdown, it was like, well, how can I serve and help others? So I would encourage every Instagrammer or influencer out there to switch the focus on just not me, but we, and this could go to anyone out there, and it's how can I be of service? Mm-hmm. Because I see that you've been busy writing your second book. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
But I know how hard you've been working. I follow you on Instagram. But tell me, what inspired you now to want to write a second book?
And exactly what you're saying. And I love that you're saying that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. It's one of the things that to me is really important, like crucially important, and is oftentimes missing from the world of wellness and from a lot of spirituality, is that so much of it is focused on us, ourselves, on improving ourselves or bettering ourselves, or, finding things that are of benefit to ourselves. And that is step one. And to me, step two is doing all of those things for the benefit of other people. It matters immensely to me to use the things that I've learned to be of service to other people, to do anything that I can to try to give as many if it's tools or techniques, or if it's meditation instruction, I try to use and post to social media really mindfully to try to give people maybe moments of calm, or to just really reflect my values and show that something like that can hopefully be done with values. Like everything I'm trying to do is because I'm trying to be of service to other people. And I think there was maybe a time when we could, and I definitely myself focused a lot more on myself and my life and things that were of benefit to me, like my family. And I still do. I still think that's important. We have to take care of ourselves first, but that really is only the first step. I think and the book, the new book that's coming up, it's called Calm Your Anxiety Journal. And it is like dozens of practices and prompts and so much information and education about exactly what anxiety is, where it comes from, how it lives in our brains and how it lives in our bodies and how it lives in emotions, and the things that we can do to actually have long-term effects to help us get out of the anxiety cycle, which for me right now, I feel, I hope, I pray, there's nothing I want more than for the book to be helpful to people who are having anxiety right now, to be able to say like, oh, okay, I'm having this anxiety for a reason, and it's because shit is crazy. And I'm a good human who cares a lot. And so I'm stressed out because that's where we're all at right now. But there are things that we can do. There are ways that we can take care of ourselves. Both when it comes to general self-care and when it comes to anxiety specifically. There are like proven techniques that have been around for hundreds or sometimes thousands of years that we can use and combine them with cutting edge research. And we really can kind of see our way through this journey.
Wow, I can't wait to get a copy of your next book. When is it launching?
Oh my gosh, I hope it goes on pre-sale soon.
Yeah,
I'm finishing my manuscript this week. It will be available September 21st. So later this year.
That's incredible. And in the meantime, we've got F This Meditation, because what I really loved about this book, and congratulations on all of the effort, because as someone who's a self-published author of It Starts With Me, which I did a few years back now, I know how much work goes into writing, sitting down, and then the editing, and then the re-edits and the re-edits and the editing. And then you get to the point where I was just like, just publish it. I trust you. You're the editor. And then I was like, oh, shit, I should have read that page. I missed that and I missed that. But like,
it's never done. Like, it's like, same with a website or something. In technology, we used to also always say that. It's like, there's no finished product. You just, at some point, you say like, enough.
Yeah. But I love how you are like, you know, I guess what I really love about the work you're doing, and especially the second book, you're really self-aware of how other people are feeling. Like your head's not in the sand going, oh, you know, it's the best year of my life, or hi everyone, it's all good. I
good vibes only.
I get this, I get that we have to be positive. I totally 100% try to be as positive and optimistic as I possibly can, but then I'm a realist. So I'm a realist knowing, okay, so on my travel page, I'll do throwback travel, but then I'll tell everybody, hey, I'm not actually traveling at the moment. I'm at home doing a podcast show, just interviewing incredible authors and like yourself and other people to really come up with some research on self-care rituals that we can do right now at home during lockdown or during the pandemic to feel good from within. So I kind of am a realist. So I just love the work you're doing, and thank you for all of the work you're doing to help other people. I feel that each light worker right now, it's the rise of the light workers that never before have we needed globally people talking about things that you can do to reduce anxiety or to feel good or to, you know, to practice grounding. And it's just so, so important.
These practices, yeah, absolutely. And they're and not everyone has to, you know, become a teacher or, you know, at any moment of kindness, anytime we're taking those practices into the real world, like, you know, a lot of this is theoretical until we actually go out there and are like nice to the person on the street, or, you know, like maybe don't like make a rude gesture at the other driver, you know, And so we're able to take this out and do it like in a really like hands-on practical day-to-day way, which is sometimes the hardest.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Just being conscious that you all have to share space on Mother Earth. Like I always grew up learning we are visitors on Mother Earth. So I really knew from a young age, my place was we are visitors here.
I love that. Yeah.
You know, and so as visitors on Mother Earth, whilst we should like tread on Mother Earth and treat it with such respect, we should also treat each other as visitors on Mother Earth and know that we never know when our time is up. So I think just being kind and caring towards each other and respecting our boundaries is going to be really key for everyone moving forward in 2021.
And kind to ourselves too.
Yes. Now tell me, talking about kind to ourselves, in your F This Meditation book, you have so like 108 tips. Like seriously, note to self. Treat yourself to a beautiful game on your iPhone, make a to-done list, do something kind for someone, make a
to-done list is fun. That's what a lot of people have a lot of fun with that. A to-done list is just where you make a list instead of a to-do list at the end of the day or anytime you're feeling like you don't get a lot done. You just make a list of all the things you did and then you cross it off. And it's so satisfying. And it helps reframe our thinking about what we've done. Because so often when I'm like talking to my husband at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I didn't do anything today. And then I will like list out 20 things I did, and he'll say like, wow, it really sounds like you did a lot today. And sometimes I need someone else to point it out. But the to-done list is kind of doing that for ourselves. Like, okay, I feel like nothing happened this week at all and it's already Thursday, just, okay, I'm actually going to write down what I did this week. And sometimes we weren't super productive, right? I mean, that's fine too. Our worth is not determined by our productivity, but sometimes what we did is like, we had a really tough emotional week and we managed at some point to give ourselves a little bit of kindness. And that is amazing. And that can be enough just to look back and notice like, yeah, I showed up in this moment.
I love that. I showed up in this moment. I've had weeks like that, especially when my mum had the seizure and went into the coma in the mix of the pandemic. And I would get to the end of the week and went, I just got through this week. I processed emotions. I felt the emotions. It was an up and down week. But I got through it. That's an achievement in itself. Like high five to everyone who's getting through each day and each week.
Absolutely.
It's like, whoa. But I love how you also make a gratitude list. Like, how big is gratitude in your life as a spiritual self-love teacher?
Yeah, I mean, gratitude is a daily practice. It is one of the most transformative things that we can possibly do. One of the rituals that I do have, and this hasn't changed, is that every night before bed, I have a little journal, a little notebook next to my bed. I write a list of 3 things I'm grateful for. Just 3. Sometimes I'm feeling like really grateful and I write more, but my kind of intention I've set for myself is I just write down 3 things. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes I'm really tired and I just think them. I'm grateful that I'm going easy on myself right now, but almost always I write them down. And being able to think about what we're grateful for, first of all, it reinforces the neurological pathways of gratitude. So the more gratitude we show and the more gratitude we express, the more gratitude we're going to feel. We're going to feel more grateful if we act more grateful, which is kind of amazing. It's like you practice and then you kind of like become it, which is, why they call it a practice. But for me, I like doing it right before I go to bed because a lot of times that's when the kind of like monkey mind starts to happen. It's when like the evil voices start to tell me stories is a lot of times at night. Like it's a little dark and I turn out the light and it's like, oh no, I didn't do this and and all that. And so being able to just have this moment of gratitude gets me in a mindset where I can just continue to think about that. And in fact, for insomnia, for people that maybe wake up in the middle of the night, I actually found a practice for myself that works well that might be worth trying, which is that I, instead of counting sheep, which I don't know that I understand that, I count gratitude and I count it backwards from 100. So I start at 100 and I just think of something I'm grateful for. And a lot of times that starts with something like physically in the room. I'm like, I'm grateful for this silk pillowcase, like it starts really close by a lot of times. And then 99, it's like, oh, I'm grateful I have a comfortable bed. 98, and I've never gotten to 0. I always fall asleep. It's pretty magical. Sometimes my mind wanders and I have to keep bringing it back, but it's worked every time so far.
I absolutely love that. Can I say that's the first time on this show and actually in my life, I've heard that, and it's brilliant. That is so good, to the point that for those nights when we can't sleep, we must try that, because that is so cool.
I'd love
so
to hear
beautiful.
if you try it, if any of your listeners
Yeah.
try. I'd love to hear, because that's not a formal practice. It's something I kind of invented, but I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's much better than counting sheep, because I really struggled even as a little kid with anxiety, because so much was going on in my home life, good, bad, and otherwise. But and I think my mum would say, oh, we learnt just to count sheep. And I'd be like, one sheep jumping over. I can't even remember it now, but it was so like counting sheep. 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep, 4 sheep. And I was visualizing just it jumping over this fence. I don't know if that was supposed to be the visualization, but it was like just one of those things. But as an adult now, I much prefer to be doing the gratitude counting backwards, because the whole mind is like, whoa. And I also use that time for me to reflect on being grateful. I'm like you, I might not write it, I might think it, but I feel then it just gets me into a positive headspace about dreaming or being grateful, versus focusing on the negativity or the negative thoughts or the shit, I can't sleep. Have you ever had that when you're like, oh, it's 1:30, I need to be in bed, I should be asleep, and and then you get stressed out that you're actually awake. And can I say, moving right along to number 93, this is another reason why I love your book. Because I'm going to show everybody, if you're in audio form, you're not going to be able to see this, but go to Spirit Girl podcast show. This ritual here, I know that a lot of you actually in lockdown in America can't go to the spa, but I loved how you included Spa Day, because you talked about the essence of listening to relaxing music, candles, dim lighting. But I loved how you can create your own spa day at home.
I love doing that. I also love spas, by the way. I miss them very much, but I'm glad to be able to recreate the experience at home for now.
So that was incredible. I loved, obviously, as a spa blogger at heart, I loved how you if you can't go to the spa, how you can take advantage of creating that spa-like experience. And you included little things like a self-massage, try a foot or a hand rub, soak your feet and scrub, do a hair treatment, a face mask.
Do it all.
So, and I love how you said, I love doing an indulgent at spa day by myself. You have so many incredible things in this book, like create a beautiful meal.
What's one of your great one, right? For quarantine?
Yeah. What is one of your favorite go-to meals?
Oh my gosh.
I know. I didn't actually put that in the interview questions. I'm like, you know what? I'm just putting her on the spot here. Liza's like, oh, that wasn't in my interview questions.
One of the things that I really love to make is a beautiful composed salad with like as many possible colors. There's something about a meal, if it's a salad or if it's a curry, whatever it is, looking at the rainbow of foods that just, it satisfies my eyes just as much as my mouth and my belly, to be able to just see like all this bouncy. I one of the practices I'm trying to get better at is expressing gratitude or having a moment of gratitude before a meal. I'm not that good at it. But when I see these beautiful spreads of fresh fruits and vegetables, I have that feeling naturally. Like I'm thinking about who picked this. Like sometimes there's like a wonderful, they like put it in the box really beautifully or something. It's like who did this?
I love this because I just shared on my Spirit Girl Instagram page, right? Which a lot of people don't know. They look at me, would never know in a million years I used to be an Aussie farmer. Never in a million years. Yeah, and grow like zucchinis and capsicums and all sorts.
This.
So I actually know what goes into producing fruit on the land. And can I just say, it is such a tough job. I wouldn't sign up anyone for it because seriously, even just to grow a capsicum will take, or you call it bell peppers, will take, say, 12 weeks just for the seedling to grow. It takes time for the seedling to grow. Then it takes 3 months of watering and nurturing, and you go from a green capsicum. I never knew this, by the way. And then you go to a red capsicum, like it develops into red, and then you got to pick it, and you got to pack it, and then you got to send it, and then you got to try and find the market for the best price. And then as a farmer, quite often what happens is you'll ring up and they'll go, oh, we're going to pay you this. And you're like, yes. And then it gets to the market and they go, oh, no, we're going to pay you this. And then you don't even cover your costs for the production. And I used to say that as a small Aussie family farm, we were like charity workers producing all this product. Like we completely burnt out, 7 days working. It was relentless. But like our passion was always to produce healthy food, to feed other people. But there comes a point in time in farming, if you're not, or any business, if you can't cover the production costs,
of course,
and you can't take days off, and like I practice zero self-care, zero.
And so that's when you're doing the job of feeding and nurturing other people. I mean, you're giving life, you're helping people sustain life, and to not be able to have the time to take care of your own.
Yeah, but it's sort of like now I do the same thing you do. Apart from like every time I get my food, I bless it. I'm grateful. I'm thinking of the people. Like I'm the same with you. Like, oh, I wonder who made this. I wonder which farmer created this. I wonder if the farmer's actually making a profit, or whether they're breaking even, or whether their farm's about to go under and they're going to go broke. So I'm really conscious, and then I'm thinking about the people picking it and packing it, and then paying gratitude to them, because it's something so easy. Like before so my mum and my grandfather were farmers. I honestly thought it was in my blood. No. It might have been for a short amount of time.
Or in different circumstances, maybe.
I mean, I learned a lot from it, which is just being grateful for the food on your table. And then now I'm like you and blessing my food, because it's so easy for me to go into the supermarket and grab raspberries and capsicums and zucchinis. And I'm like, woo, and I'm clean and I'm not covered in mud. And I'm like, yes.
And someone got dirty and someone got covered in mud and someone took care of that and like brought it all to you.
Yeah. And like these were the days going to pick a piece of fruit and holy shit, there's a brown snake on the like plastic. Don't move, back up, it's deadly. Okay.
Oh my God.
So yeah, but I got a bit sidetracked there. I'll come right back to
that's so interesting though. Thanks for
sharing
that.
Interesting. It's interesting, but I tell you what, living under chronic stress, I think this is why I'm so passionate now, like you too, Liza, how I know chronic stress is the worst thing for your brain health, for your mental health, for your emotional health. Like And sometimes we think we're stressed, but we can be depressed, and we just feel we're stressed. We don't even know we're depressed. Like that was very similar on the farm. We thought we were stressed. But the chronic stress makes you then depressed. And so I just feel so passionate about now sharing books like F This Meditation and your work, so that wherever you are in the world, you can grab this book, right? Which is what I loved. And I have to really share this, why I truly loved this. And then you can just kind of like pick one thing, like, which is what I loved, like bring some nature inside. Tell me about that, because right behind you, you have nature.
Yeah. And, nature does all kinds of amazing things for us. It's like, I think I said in the book, if all the benefits that came from nature came in pill form, we would all take that pill, because it's like, oh, my blood pressure is going down and my heart rate's going down, and I have less stress, and like I can rest and digest and all these things. It's like, that's what nature does. Like, we know scientifically, there's been many, many studies that have shown different parts of nature, just nature. There's also specific benefits we get from being in a forest. There's specific benefits we get from being by the beach, by the sea. There's a lot of different kinds of benefits. But amazingly, even if we can't go out and be in nature, bringing nature like a plant into our home, which of course we know plants clean the air, but it can even be a faux plant or a picture of a plant or a picture of nature. Those have benefits. They're not as much as going out, but there are added benefits. If we're inside and we don't have a view of the outdoors, we're sitting in an office or sitting at home, if we have a picture of nature and we look at it sometimes, it's relatively easy to do. Just sometimes look at a picture of nature or plants inside. We can reap some of those benefits. And I think also, in addition to those kind of scientifically measured physical and biological benefits, we can also remember, to your point, that we are visitors on this planet. We are visitors to Earth. Our time here is temporary. We have cycles, we have seasons, just like nature. And regardless of whether we're paying attention to it or not, all that stuff is happening around us all the time.
Yeah, I love that. I really love your bringing the nature in, or looking at, a picture of nature or the plants, and you have a little plant behind you. And you know what I really loved about your book, because I'm the biggest Girl Crush fan of this book, F This Meditation, because seriously, it's selling everywhere in Australia. Like the other day I was just in Kmart and it was there, and I even showed my little niece, give her a shout out, Ali. She's like, yeah, Arnie, that's the best book.
Wait, she knew
really, yeah, you really found. I was like, oh my goodness, I've stumbled across this most incredible book that every person needs to know about. Every Spirit Girl, every podcast listener, every person.
Thank you for sharing.
I was like, oh, I've never seen such a beautiful book, because I love pink too.
It is beautiful. The publisher did a wonderful job with it. It's gorgeous. Embossed cover and full colors on the inside. I was delighted with how nice it is to physically hold.
I know. And the paper quality. And I was just like, and write a personal mission statement. And I was like, even for a young teenager, if there's mums out there and they're you've got a teenage daughter who's just finding, being online, social media, she's getting bullied, people are mean to her at school, because I hear all the stories of what's going on. And there are some really unkind people out there. And I feel that this was such a beautiful gift to yourself, but a gift to even a friend or a child or a loved one. So naturally, I wanted to give this book to my niece, because I was like, you're going to feel so good. You can just do one thing. And then she really liked this idea. And for me to get this, over the line with the young ones, I was like, whoa, we're winning here. We're winning here, because this means they can spend a little bit less time on social media.
Yeah, just a little less.
And like just take a break and laugh. I mean, when was the last time? We should ask our podcast listeners. Okay, here's a question. When was the last time you laughed? They're probably thinking, hang on a minute, that's a really good question. When was that? And then I just love how you said laughter can be an incredible medicine. Truly, it relieves stress. So tell me, how are some ways we can laugh more? Because we've got to bring more laughter, don't we?
I'll tell you what I think. Doggy videos. I am a sucker for cute dogs. And there is this Instagram account called Dr. Smash Love.
What?
It is my favorite thing on the internet. And I save it for when I'm sad or bummed out. And then I go look at it. And I'm overjoyed. It's just cute videos of dogs. It's like old dogs and young dogs and silly dogs. And I can't recommend it enough. Dr. Smash Love. That's my go-to.
Oh my God. I love that. That is so funny. So Dr. Smash as in
Dr. Smash Love. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we're going to follow that account because there's just not enough laughter, is there? We're so serious, and we were taught whoa, even as a kid, you got to act sensible. I don't know, I'm a kid. And I feel that there's not enough laughter, especially during a global pandemic, and just the moments of laughter. And you reminded me here, whether it's a stand-up comedy or a show or just how therapeutic laughing is. I just, there are so many incredible things in your book. And I could speak to you all day, every day, but I can tell you what, you have so many fans in Australia. We just are loving.
I love Australia.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to coming back when those days come, and when travel opens back up. I'm so touched and delighted to hear that the book has done it spread so widely there, because I've been really blessed to have some wonderful support from the Australian media, and thank you for having me on. And it honestly was beyond. I wrote this book for my daughter. I actually I gave it to her as a present when she graduated from high school, because she was about to travel the world. She went on her gap year. She traveled through Brisbane. She traveled, and at the time I was quite sick, and I'd been sick for years, and I didn't really know what was going on. And she was getting ready to go out in the world, and I feel like I'd learned some things in my own journey along the way, meditation and different things. And I wanted to codify what I'd learned. And so I started a spreadsheet where I was like, here's some things you can do if you're feeling, stressed out. Here's some things. And then I ordered the spreadsheet by time it took. I'm like, well, here's easy ones, and here's the ones that take a little more time. And eventually it turned into a book that I wrote for my daughter. And I had a wonderful designer that worked with me, and we published it through one of those just print a book websites. And I was able to physically give her a book for her graduation gift, which was amazing. And then after that, a publisher, Quarto, Rock Point Press, my wonderful publisher, had slid into my DMs on Instagram. I have a lot of fun on the F This Meditation Instagram. The publisher came into my DMs and was like, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I said, I have a book. And so it was really amazing to be able to, they embraced it, and they helped me edit it down, and they obviously made it so beautiful. And it is really I feel so touched and grateful that something I made, it was always intended to be helpful. It was intended to be of benefit to my child. But then it has, in a really surprising and wonderful way, also been able to be of benefit to people all over the world, which is such a blessing, like such a gift, such an amazing thing to have happen. So thanks for the opportunity to really reflect on that, because it's amazing. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I loved. Can I say thank you for sharing that story? Because
Of course.
I did see that you had to my daughter Veronica and all of her transitions. But I didn't know how the book came to fruition,
Isn't that wild?
which now makes sense that the girls, you know, who are the 16, 17, 18, 19 are loving this book
It really
because
was
of the
written
minutes.
for them, yeah.
But, you know, but then it's just so beautiful that you could share, like, list out things that you do that make you feel good, less stressed, anxious, overwhelmed. And isn't it incredible divine timing? Like, I'm so mesmerized how the universe works, where it brings us stuff, like it shows up at the right time. So it shows up during a global pandemic, you know, how to meditate, how to take care of yourself at home.
Yeah.
And it's just divine timing, like incredible how the universe knows to show you, like, you find this book because it's meant for you, you know, at that right time.
I mean, and I feel like that is one of the wonderful things that I'm sure you have this experience too. When we're doing work with the intention of trying to be of service and to be helpful, I think that those opportunities tend to happen a lot more often because we're really genuinely coming from a place of trying to be helpful and look out for other people. And it doesn't mean that everything is easy, but I think those kind of things, those, you know, energies align a little bit more often when we really are trying to do things for others.
You're right. So when I agree, I believe it in serendipity and synchronicity. And here I am running this, you know, Spirit Girl podcast show for people who are interested in how to take care of themselves at home or anywhere at the spa. I'm like, whoa, how to create a spa day at home. Bingo. And how to meditate, because I truly believe meditation's transformative. And then just other, like if you're in lockdown, right? 108 days, like, you know, there's so many practices here that you can just do one thing a day. And it's a great way to feel good. So I thank you so much for putting all of your love, effort, and making this happen, as well as the publishing house, because I just feel it's so needed at the moment. Self-care is a necessity. I know some people are new to self-care or getting back into self-care. And I've met so many people for the first time, they've experienced anxiety and mental health illnesses or concerns or issues, or where prior to pandemic, never, you know, prior to the pandemic, good mental health, no anxiety, just life was swimmingly. But then I've met people who had shitloads of anxiety before, stuff already going on, with the whole, I got to work full time, then I got to hustle, I got to have a side hustle, and now I've got to become an influencer and someone in the media, and I've got to run a household, I got to be a mom, and like this amount of pressure and stress they were already under, plus the pandemic has like tipped a few people over that edge. But it's really good to know that slow down, do what you can, just one thing a day, even 1 minute.
1 minute, or, you know, to your point, just surviving, just making it through. It's kind of remarkable how fast we normalize things, where it's like we are actually still living through a global pandemic. But in a lot of ways, people have like gone back to normal or pretended that things are normal. And that is, I mean, it's just in a lot of ways, especially for us here in America, just unprecedented times, just unprecedented what we're living through. And yet we're expected to do everything we did before and do it, you know, with a smile or, you know, or whatever. It's like, to me, it's almost, and I'm sorry to hear about the stories that you're sharing about people that are struggling. To me, it's almost more remarkable that there's people who are not.
Yeah. There are some people that are not affected, or maybe they're, financially in such a position, or maybe they're desensitized from caring about others.
Or
But
maybe they're just protecting themselves. Maybe they don't know how stressed out they are yet.
Yeah, I feel really hopeful that there are so many people like yourself and podcast shows and podcast hosts
And yourself, Yvette.
and influencers that are genuinely out there, trying to make a difference and trying to use their social media platforms to help and serve others. So I really inspired by the rise of the light workers. But I love also, whilst I could go on and on and on about your book, but we'll finish it off on this one, because this is the Tech 5 minutes. Only check news, social media, and your inbox at designated times. Okay. Share more about this and why you feel during the pandemic, especially in America, why this could happen, and how can we build this into our life today?
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. When we allow, let me start again. When we are exposed to so many different images of suffering, we're not made for that. We haven't evolved fast enough to keep up with all these images. Because when we really sit with things that are sad, we are sad. And, when we see things that are horrible, we feel that. And the way that news is, and the way that it's incentivized, is always just quick hits, fast. And so when we tune into things, it's a lot scrolling past us. It's a lot. And we can become unintentionally desensitized to what's going on in the news. It's different but similar in social media, where we're just scrolling past people's lives and or whatever it is, and not really fully sitting with the weight of oh, so-and-so had a baby, or so-and-so lost their job, or, whatever it is. It's people are sharing, a lot of times are sharing really important life events. They're at least important to them. And we're just kind of okay, baby, job, house, car, whatever, And so if we can actually limit the amount of time that we're spending on it and do it with intention, for myself, I will say to myself, I am on Instagram now. And I give myself that permission. I'm not feeling bad about it, but I'm on Instagram and I'm seeing, pieces of people's lives, or I am checking the news now. I am noticing what's going on and being able to be open to the scope of that experience. But it's a lot. And so we do need to, or we're served by limiting it and being really intentional about it. And that way we can be fully acknowledging what's going on around us, the tragedies and the heartbreak and the joy that are happening. We can fully allow that in while still taking care of and protecting ourselves.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, because it's really powerful. You're so right. We go from one extreme to the next. We have, say, the influencer who's just had their firstborn baby. They're so happy. They have this beautiful bundle of joy. Then we go to, say, the next influencer who sadly lost their mother to COVID, or their husband to COVID, or a family member, and it's happy, it's sad, it's and just becoming self-aware that people are at all different stages. But I 100% don't watch a lot of the news. I try and limit it as well. I'm really conscious. I call it a social media diet, where I'll just try and consume healthy content. So like I love positive affirmations. I mean, I love looking at books and I love illustrations, and I'm a bit like you, cute dogs and
Always.
cute little kids and stuff. At the moment, I sort of, whilst I love travel, I like my travel page. I was telling you before the podcast show, I'll just realistically update it, once a week, throwback, because I'm just conscious that not everybody in the world can travel. And I feel that when everything's healthy and safe and we can all travel international again, that'll be a really fun thing. And I know we should become bigger than the pandemic and bigger than the virus and not live in fear. But I'm conscious I live in Australia, so I'll just be, traveling within my region because we don't have the COVID here, which is safe to do. But as soon as there would be a breakout, I wouldn't be doing the travel. And we're lucky in Australia that as soon as there's a breakout, it's like travel is stopped. Boom.
Yeah,
they're
that's
very
really
like,
amazing.
they don't muck around. They're just like, you're not going on holidays. We've got COVID happening in this town. You can't come
We really
here.
need more of that here in America. Responsible people setting guidelines and rules.
Yeah, you're like, even if we have 10 COVID cases, no one is going into that town and no one's coming out of that town.
Oh my gosh, there's COVID in my apartment building.
Oh my God, that you wouldn't be able to leave come in maybe just 1 hour for exercise. So it's
it's in the building. We got an email this week that someone has it and is under quarantine, and I turned off my air filter to do the podcast show and gonna turn it back on. It's everywhere, and so many, just the sheer number of people that have had that have lost loved ones, and it is a really we're having such different experiences on the the different sides of the world. It's remarkable to see.
It's so different. And I remember thinking about this at the start of the pandemic. We're going to get to a stage, like I knew a few months in, eventually we'd have some countries who are, safe, healthy, can travel the world. Then we'd have other countries that are not. And we'd all be at different stages, like London. I have a lot of the podcast listeners in London who are in lockdown and in winter, and it's their third lockdown. And even in Canada, there is lockdowns happening, and so many different places. Like I think we're all at different stages. But the one thing we can do is F this meditation. One thing we can do is F this meditation and do, the self-care rituals to feel less anxious, less stressed and overwhelmed. And I feel like that's just our life purpose now, to practice self-care. It's so like up there. Like when I was writing about self-care many, many years ago, it wasn't so on trend.
Yeah, it's now there's a backlash. It's like
now, like self-care is like, it's just so on trend and everybody's going to do it. And meditation has become the norm. But when you started out as a meditation teacher, did people think you were a bit woo-woo? Like it was a bit woo-woo?
I am a bit woo-woo. I have a good friend of mine, Lodor Rinsler, he's a best-selling Buddhist author, and he's a delight of a person and a fantastic Buddhist teacher. And he kind of likens meditation now to where maybe physical exercise was in the 1950s or so, where in the 1950s, like no one went for a run. If you were out, there was no jogging in the 1950s. If you were running, people would ask you who was chasing you. And then there was like a few people who started to really see the benefits of physical exercise as an intentional activity. And now everyone exercises. You ask someone like, oh, what do you do to work out? It's like, it is a part of everyone's life. And so now what we're seeing and what you're mentioning, it's like, for a while, the idea of meditation was, a little bit like, well, what's wrong with you? Or, whatever. It wasn't an everyday activity for a lot of people, but now it is becoming so common that a lot of people are having experiences with it, which for the most part is really good. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people teaching it that maybe aren't qualified or don't have a lineage. They're kind of making stuff up or just like picking and choosing what they want to teach and making it into their own thing, which is not something I'm a fan of. Or we have a lot of corporations that are big companies that are trying to use it for like workplace productivity and stuff, which is not what it's for. But we're seeing, the good, the bad, and the other, like you said, of all that stuff. But at least people are becoming more familiar with it and are able to try it and see where it can fit in their lives.
Yeah, I love it. And I feel like, you see this meditation and it really kind of like attracts the person who maybe tried meditation and went, oh my goodness, I was thinking about my shopping, what was I going to make for dinner?
Those are my people. Anyone that's like, I tried meditation, I hated it. I'm like, come to me. Like, like, yes, because it's so hard and no one tells you that. And people pretend like as if you could like clear your mind of thoughts. It's like, that's not a thing that happens. Like, what? I'm sorry anybody ever thought that was how that worked, because it's not,
I think you're right, because see, back in the day, they used to I remember growing up as a kid, and maybe we thought the people that meditated were Buddhist monks, and they were like trying to get to a level of enlightenment. And it was sort of like, that's who meditated.
Right.
And then you'd have to go up to the Himalayan mountains to meditate with some Buddhist monk. And like, it was so off.
Yes.
So far out of reach.
And it was like removed. Like,
yeah.
And people they were like, first of all, they always go up, right? Like, it's like they're going towards enlightenment. So they have to go like up into a mountain. It's kind of funny the way that works. But yeah, and and it finally brought me into meditation. I was meditation curious for a long time. Or I was meditating at home using some guided meditations, but I was Buddhist curious. Was that the center that I was going to was offering a class called Meditation in Everyday Life. And I was like, that's for me. Like there are some meditation lineages and practices that are focused on enlightenment. But there's others, and this is my own, kind of like brand, that are focused on taking care of yourself for the benefit of all, which is what I'm interested in. And you don't do that from a mountain. I mean, nothing wrong with mountains, but you don't do that, by like removing yourself and just like going off by yourself. Retreats are good, but to me, it's about like bringing it back into the everyday.
Yeah, I love that. I loved the everyday approach. And I loved the fact that, yes, you're going to have thoughts. Yes, you're going to be thinking about, what are you making for dinner? And yes, you're going to, like, uncomfortable things are going to come up. You're going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But you're going to breathe through it. And what I really loved is meditations helped me so much. And to the point where, like, I can just breathe through, like, I might be at the set of lights and I might be running late for something because, I've been held up with traffic, but I can just breathe through it, just calm, just, it'll be okay, just chill and go about the day. So I feel that's going to just be so beneficial. Now, I could speak to you forever and ever and ever.
This is such a great conversation. Thank you for having me on, and thanks to everyone who is listening.
Yeah, I love our podcast listeners and Spirit Girl community globally. It's just thousands and thousands and soon to be millions around the world tuning in. But just so grateful to bring you today here, Liza, just with your book and your words of wisdom. Your spirituality is so on point, where it's just, you can do this. And I love how you are actually, getting about your day, even though there's someone in your building that's got COVID, like if that was happening in Australia, you'd be all like locked down, shut down, and wouldn't even be able to go anywhere. But it's just incredible. And I love how you've gone to the effort to write a second book, which when that launches, I'll have to get you back onto the podcast.
I would love that. I'm so proud of it. And I hope it does continue to help people.
Yeah. And I'm super grateful. We're just going to add This Meditation by Liza Kindred into the Spirit Girl Book Club.
Yay! Thank you.
Make sure you take a cute little photo. If you're tuning in, go to the YouTube channel. You can see what I'm doing. Take a photo of the book, hashtag Spa It Girl Book Club, Spa It Girl, and we're going to hashtag because you've got an incredible Instagram page for your book readers.
I have a lot of fun over there. It's a little bit irreverent, but you probably guessed that by the name of the book.
Yeah, I love it because it's that's EFF, this meditation, and you can become part of Liza's community.
Please come hang out. Yeah, so much fun.
I love this 108 ways to help anxiety in as little as a minute, which is your book. And you've got a mindfulness and self-care community as well. And I just love how passionate you are to help other people to feel good from within. So thank you again.
Too. Thank you for having me. It's so great to be in alignment.
So sweet, so sweet. I'm super grateful. And you're so true. It is so great in this day and age that we can connect.
Yeah.
Like you're in Miami, I'm in Australia, and we're connecting and we're talking about meditation and self-care and how to sort of feel good during lockdown and just how to feel good in life overall. You know, I think that's most important. This is a lifelong journey.
Mm-hmm.
And learning these things now while you have this moment, or look at it as a opportunity to actually really just dive deep into your self-care practice at home because the pandemic's on. Like maybe if this pandemic never happened, we wouldn't be diving so deep into meditation or self-care, or we could all be really running ourselves into the ground and burning out. So I feel that has to be the greatest blessing from all of this, thinking about ourselves and everybody else.
Absolutely.
So thank you. Now, how can we stay in touch with you after the podcast show?
Yeah, thank you. So if anyone is interested, I have a lot of free resources on my website, This Meditation, EFF, This Meditation. If you go to fthismeditation.com/newsletter, I have a really fun weekly newsletter. It's not marketing. I send out like fun practices and videos and like stuff I like from nature. I'm obsessed with the deep sea, book recommendations and things like that. And I mentioned we have a lot of fun on Instagram. It's at This Meditation, and my personal at Liza_K, where I put like day-to-day life, and also I do different calm moments and practices and stuff like that to try to like keep it going even on social media. So, and if anyone tries the middle of the night insomnia gratitude practice, I'd love to hear about it. So let me know how it goes.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you again, Liza Kindred. You are truly just a light worker on a mission to help as many people on planet Earth to feel good from within. Just incredible to practice self-care. So thank you for all that you do. And I'm just, once again, can't recommend your book more than I have today, but definitely grab a copy and stay in touch with Liza after.
Please. Yeah, let me know how the practices go.
Yeah. Well, we'll say goodbye now to our beautiful podcast guest, Liza Kindred.
Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you for all tuning in. I'm so grateful. It's because of our listeners that I want to turn up every week and share a new author with you, a new incredible self-care teacher, guide with you. And I'm just so honored to be able to serve all of you to make you help feel better. So on that note, we will say goodbye to Liza. And be sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star rating review, and to tell someone you love to. Stay in touch with me at spaitgirl.com, SpaItGirl on Instagram, just hashtag SpaItGirl. And we will say goodbye for now. And together, let's feel good from within.